So every empire creates the demon that will destroy it. And sometimes it starts with a boy swearing revenge in blood. Some dreams are born from fire, and some dreams are born from rage. And some dreams are doomed the moment they're spoken. So, to give you an example, imagine someone in maybe even yourself in a country rattled by war, and maybe someone close to you gets killed by a bomb or gets taken or gets subjugated in some humiliating fashion. Hannibal Barca, he wasn't chasing glory. He was chasing a demon. It was his father's hatred for Rome. To give you, I guess, the origin story, at the time, Carthage was a contemporary of Rome. This was a civilization or city-state located in North Africa. It was a city of merchants, of sailors, empire builders. Currency and gold just flowed in the streets. But beyond the sea, Rome was rising like a top contender, ready to reign supreme. And like all top contenders, at one point, they're going to be ready to fight the heavyweight champion. And in the First Punic War, they did. And Hannibal's father, Hamilcar Barca, fought in the First Punic War. Carthage lost. The pride shattered and the hatred sealed forever. So before leaving to Iberia, which is modern-day Spain, Hamilcar took his young son to the temple of their gods. And there he made him swear a blood oath. And the oath was the following: never be a friend to Rome, avenge me, salt the earth. And from there on, the seed of utter destruction was planted. No libations for the dead, just a thirst for the sound of lamentation of Roman sons. So from that moment, Hannibal's life was not his own. He wasn't building a dream. He was living inside a dying man's nightmare. See, it's easier to destroy something than to build. It's easier to reap than to sow. So as Hannibal grew into adulthood, he grew into a prestigious and renowned warrior or general, if you will, living in Spain all those years, preparing, strategizing for the conquest of Rome. But to do so, he had to cross the Alps. So when Hannibal crossed the Alps, he wasn't just leading an army, he was unleashing a hellstorm. So to put in some perspective, there was no paved roads, no easy paths, brutal cliffs, blizzards that would swallow a man whole, starvation, mutiny, death, all very common themes. He even took with him war elephants, and these were obviously symbols of terror in the battlefield. And you can imagine in the Alps, they're slipping on ice, dying by the dozen, but still pressing forward. Along the way, Hannibal faced wild tribes of Celtic and Iberian descent. So it wasn't uncommon for him to go to a local village, fight them, capture prisoners, make them prisoners of war. And just to describe his brutality, he would have them do gladiatorial combat just to entertain his men, fight to the death. But Hannibal was pragmatic because the victor earned weapons, armor, freedom, or even a place in his army. Hannibal didn't want soldiers. He wanted warriors baptized in blood. And crossing the Alps wasn't a strategy, it was purification by suffering. So if Rome at this time wasn't an empire yet, it was a republic. And it was a republic facing an existential threat. And that threat was Hannibal. Hannibal was the black meteor streaking across their sky. He was like their version of a Darth Vader or a Voldemort, if you will. Because Hannibal wasn't born a monster, he was forged by a father's curse, by betrayal, by an oath that could never outrun him, haunted literally by the demons of his father. So he wasn't just a general, to put it poetically, he was a prophecy in armor. Now, by the time that Hannibal crossed the Alps, he had just the most hardened, weathered, seasoned warriors you could think of. And he descended upon Italy like the scourge of God. So he fought at Trebia, like Lake Tresmini, and at Cannae. And the name Cannes, the town of Cannes, the city of Cannes, the province, is a name soaked in Roman blood, an infamous battle for the Romans, a tragedy. Just to give you some perspective, in a single day, somewhere in the estimates between 50 to 70,000 Roman legionnaires died in a single day. That was hours and hours of slaughter, pinned against the backdrop of a mountain and just lambs to the slaughter. Now, the survivors of Cannes, these were considered dishonored and exiled and banished to fight in forgotten wars, stripped of honor. So imagine surviving hell, and then you can't go back home. And if you do, it's only to be treated like a curse by your own blood. So after the Battle of Cannae, which was around 216 BC, that's where Hannibal just annihilated the Roman army. It was one of the worst defeats in history. And again, these Roman survivors, these soldiers, were treated just harshly. And they were banished to Sicily. They were never to return to the homeland. So a lot of them did garrison duty, maybe in Sicily, some parts of North Africa, just far from Rome and far from any chance of regaining redemption or glory. They were forbidden to return home unless they won major victories or somehow redeemed themselves, but they were disgraced soldiers. And it was sort of like a permanent reminder of the shame of Cannae. These soldiers were organized into two legions of shame, they called it. The Legiones de Cananes. And they weren't allowed to fight in Italy. Again, couldn't hold political office, not allowed to mingle with Roman citizens or with honorable legions. They basically became sort of a penal battalion. I wouldn't say slave soldiers, but maybe prisoner soldiers, right? Sent to do some of the harshest fighting, the lowest garrison work, exiled for years. Imagine not coming home for years. But the broken weren't finished. They were just waiting for a new fire. And they were battle hardened, furious, and desperate to redeem themselves. And redemption came in the name of a boy named Scipio. And he was barely out of childhood, and he steps forward, and he was actually a survivor of Cannae. So he gathered these exiles in Sicily, these exiled soldiers, the disgraced, if you will. And soon the damned became the saviors. So, like any good general, Scipio studied Hannibal and he learned from him. He evolved. So he marches to Africa and forces Hannibal to defend his homeland. And in 200 BC, there was a battle in a place called Zama. And Scipio Africanus breaks Hannibal's army and breaks the dream that Hannibal carried since childhood. Hannibal fought for vengeance, and Scipio fought for rebirth. Hannibal, by all accounts, fought like a god, but for a dead man's dream. And ultimately, he died in exile, and he was abandoned by Carthage, and he was haunted by Rome. The exiles of Khan, the broken, the cursed, the damned, they found redemption by fighting for something greater than rage. And a dream born from hatred will destroy you, but a dream born from redemption, that can outlive any empire. So the moral of the story goes here, again, is to build, because to destroy is easy. To hate, but to love is better. And redemption is for everyone. So I hope you enjoyed the story. And remember, guys, to always lift more, eat more, rest more, love more, and hate less. Thank you.